So, yeah, she quit. And I never thought that she would do something like that because she was always a fighter. But I didn't count on how 2 bad knees would affect her over the next part of her life. So at 60, she wanted to go back to work, and they said, why don't you get your knee replacement done? And her logic was, well, what if they put me to sleep and I don't wake up? So can't argue with that, but it's going to have its problems. So she uses our family connections to get work at the Philadelphia School District, a nice cushy job in a public school as a reading aide and a library aide and a lunchroom aide at the same school that my sister teaches at. That was fun. So she ingratiated herself with the principal, Mrs. Davidson. So they became buddies, and she, of course, just was the queen for those 3 hours. She did everything she liked to do and played around with everybody. But she did have a very strong personality and very opinionated and not a very effective filter. So occasionally she would say stuff that wouldn't be very good. And the other teachers, being typical passive-aggressives, would complain to my sister instead of the principal. So my sister would have to do the dirty work. But she got so upset with it that she wrote this harsh letter, vicious, about, if you don't stop this, I'm never going to come to the house again. I'm never going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And, of course, she told me to print it out and give it to my mother. You had to be the bearer of the bad news. So what does my mother do? She looks at it and says, I'm going to get that rat. But eventually everything has to end, and the principal retired, and then the new principal was not a fan. And he wanted to assign her to the 3rd floor, and she couldn't make those stairs. So that's the first time she quit. Actually resigned 2013. So for the next 5 years, my second job became her knees. So we tried everything. We went to Penn, we went to the 3Bs, we went to the 4Cs, we went to Jefferson, went to NovaCare. You know, they try the rooster comb, and then they try the gel shots. But in the end, it all comes down to the cortisone, the drug. And it doesn't work for too long. So in fact, there was a doctor that used to take out a full-page ad in the Inquirer, Dr. McGrath, and she thought it was a news story. We kept telling her, it's an advertisement, but she wanted to go, so I would drive over the bridge every week to Cherry Hill, and she'd get the shot, then she'd do the PT, and she loved it there. But then it started to wear off, and then she started bad-mouthing Dr. McGrath in his own office. So we got kicked out, and we were told not to come back. So we finally found Dr. Collier, who's on Broad Street, who was an independent ortho, and he knew that once you get the bone-on-bone, there's nothing more you can do. So he would give her a monthly cortisone shot. You're not supposed to get them like every 6 months, but you can't make it worse. Now, if they had invented, the foam insulation that you could shoot in your knee, that would have been great, but that hasn't been invented yet. So she loved Dr. Collier. He was so good. He was so nice to her. But then he decided he was going to go on vacation. So she refused to get the shot from anybody but him. So she went 2 months without the shot. He came back. He gave her the shot, and nothing. I started to see her start to give up a little bit. She said, take me to the Acme, because she wanted to see Joey, her friend who played the numbers for her. He was like her boyfriend. But she couldn't get out of my car. So Joey came out and gave her a big hug. And then she began to decline. So she had a lousy diet, wound up at the emergency room, had diverticulitis, didn't get a bag, though. So she got through that weekend. But the Eagles won. And then my mother died in that month, February 27th, 2018, at 11:24 a.m. Our address is 1124 South 7th Street.